Good day, people of the internet. This is my Mesmer build. I like to refer to this build as my Stealth-Mesmer, but it's most commonly referred to as a PU Mesmer. So this build is mainly player versus environment driven, really good in dungeons, fractals, open world, and various other things. But I have gotten great results out of it in structured player versus player in all the game modes, including Stronghold. World versus world is untested. I think I've taken it in there a couple times, but I'm horrible at world versus world to begin with, so if you can get it to work there, props to you. So this build is going to be a balance of damage and survivability, and it's really good at getting out of stun locks, staying out of stun locks, really good condition clearing, and it has a decent amount of damage it can close gaps on enemies really quickly and get out of combat fast with the stealth mechanics and our blink. Also, you'll notice on the screen there's going to be footage of this build in action in different game modes of fractals, dungeons, actually in PvP matches, so that'll be somewhere here on the screen. And for the beginning of this video and the end of this video, I will have annotations on the side of the screen directing you to the different segments of this video, depending on what you're wanting to actually find. So, rolling into it, let's look at equipment. So for the armor, we're running full Knight's armor. For the weapons, we're running full soldiers. For our not accessories, but like our trinkets and whatnot, our amulet is going to be Zerker. Our rings are going to be Zerker. Our accessories are going to be 1 Zerker, 1 Knights, and our back piece is also going to be Knights. For runes, I am running Runes of the Traveler, because the speed boost, the boon duration, and the flat stat bonus to everything, it makes this build much more... it kind of evens out this build in different areas. If you don't want to have this, if you want to put out more damage, I would say power runes of some sort. Either something like Strength, Holbreck, or Privateer would be good, or if there's power runes that extend boon duration, that's also a good set. So, for our weapons on sigils, the Greatsword is going to be running a Sigil of Battle and a Sigil of Strength. For the sword, we're running a Sigil of Fire. If you're having a lot of trouble with conditions, switch out the Sigil of Fire for a Sigil of Purity. It will help you a bunch. And then on the torch, we're running Sigil of Battle. I do have some extra weapons here to switch them out. I've got a staff for more range abilities and being a staff on the Mesmer, and that's running the Sigil of Battle and Sigil of Strength. Then I have a focus here, but that's just for the speed boost. Now moving on to traits. For traits, we're running Dueling, Chaos, and Inspiration. For the trait line for Dueling, we're running up, down, up. For Chaos, we are running middle, up, middle. And for Inspiration, we are running bottom, bottom, middle. I'm not going to go over all the little bits of the traits I'm running because some of them are kind of... you have to run this because it's a minor or it's the best one in this major line, but I will highlight a few. One of them to highlight is in Dueling, I'm running Fencer's Finesse. This decreases the recharge on your one-handed sword skills, and also every time you use a sword skill or a sword phantasm attacks, you gain a stack of Fencer's Finesse, which increases your ferocity. This is a good way to stack up damage, and it means if you can pump out one of these clones from the sword that actually does damage, that will start bumping up your Fencer's Finesse, and then you can switch into your Greatsword and have that extra ferocity. Harmonious Mantras. This is a very key point of this build for the survivability part. This allows us to channel our mantras for 3 stacks, and every time you pop one of your mantras, you get a small damage increase. I'm not too concerned with the damage increase, and that's not why I'm running this. I didn't know there's a damage increase when I took this trait. So, don't worry about the damage increase, because if you're popping off all your mantras just to get that damage increase, you're going to handicap yourself later in the fight when you might get stunned or you have conditions applied to you. Going into the Chaos line, we have Illusionary Defense. This makes it so the more illusions you have out, the more reduced damage you take. So it's 3% reduced damage for each illusion, so a total of 9 damage reduction. I think those were words. Then, the very key point to this build, I'm going to mispronounce this a lot. The Prismatic Understanding. This is what the PU Mesmer is all about. When we stealth, we gain either Aegis, Protection, Regen, Might, or Swiftness. And actually in the Chaos line, the minors we have here allow us to actually get more boons from getting certain ones. So that's the key point of this build, of you stealth. Oh, and also the PU trait also extends how long our stealths last. I've actually, this can get you about 21 seconds of stealth, and 10 of those seconds is actually party stealth. So it's very good for dungeons of running through areas. Inspiration. The very first one, Mender's Purity. This is a key point of why we're running a healing mantra. Every time you pop a healing skill, you also pop Power Cleanse, which removes conditions. And then the inspiration line is kind of just, it's mainly for that Power Cleanse, but there's a couple traits we're running here just so we can improve our phantasms, as well as our boons get sent out to all of our allies when we pop a phantasm, which is the very last superior masterwork, whatever trait that should be, the illusionary inspiration. So, moving on to skills, we are running the Phantasm. We are running the Mantra healing skill, because, as I said, it might be a small amount of healing, but every time we pop it, and we can pop 3 of them, we cleanse conditions. We also have Decoy, another stealth, break stun. We have Mantra of Concentration, which gives us a stability, and a stun breaker, and the stability gets applied to us and allies around us. And I don't know why, but for some reason, when I pop the power break and we get the stability, our character gets 5 stability, but everyone else gets 3, I think. I'm not quite sure. I think it's just a trait that does that. We have Blink, and for Blink, actually, if you're in dungeons or open world or whatnot, you might want to switch out Blink at some points with feedback, just so you have that projectile reflection and the ether field, but mainly the facing reflection. Very last one is Mass Invisibility. This stealths you and your allies for 10 seconds. It's also one of the elites that has the shortest cooldown. Yeah. Moving on to the various tips and tricks that I've figured out with this. The various tips and tricks. With your mantras, when you're about to go into a fight, if you just got out of a fight, you're gonna have a bunch of mantras expended. So when you go into your next fight, you might only have 1 chant left on one of your mantras. Instead of rushing into the fight, expending that mantra, and then you have to sit there chanting for a bit. Instead, reset your mantras before you go into fights, and the easiest way I've found is get out of combat, go to your skill bar, and then switch out the mantra skill for another skill, and it instantly resets the mantra, and then you can cast it. And the way mantras work is, the cooldown starts after you finish the chant. So on this Mantra of Concentration, I just cast it. If I switch it to another skill and back, we are about halfway done on the recharge, because the cooldown started as soon as I cast it. Which means you can expend through the chants or mantras or whatever you would want to call them, and then the skills are going to be recharging for the next time you do it. Now, the way this healing mantra works for condition cleansing, it only cleanses when you use the mantra of the power return, which is the actual healing factor to it. When you use power return, you cleanse a condition. You do not cleanse a condition when you actually do the chant. This chant does not cleanse conditions, so that's just that. General tactics for this build is going to be staying at a distance, using your great sword at the distance, and then closing in with your main hand sword and bursting through, well, cycling through these abilities, and then once they're done, your weapon swap should be ready, and then you want to disengage, switch back to your sword, and start cycling again. While you're stealthed, you can summon your illusions, as long as the summoning does not cause damage. So while you're stealthed, you can send out a Phantasmal Berserker or your Phantasmal Mage. The only illusion you can't send out is your clone from the skill 2 on the sword. That actually has initial damage when you do it, which will break your stealth. So that one is kind of good to have at the end of your stealth. Mass Invisibility is good to stealth your whole party for a running phase, or if your whole party is down, pop Mass Invisibility will stealth everyone who's down, and then you can go in and res them to get them back in the fight without being aggroed by enemies. When you're in the middle of combat and your mantras have to be recast, don't just sit there and recast your mantra. Instead, if you can, stealth and then start the recast, because while you're stealthed, you're gaining boons, and you're kind of useless when you're casting your mantra. So you might as well stealth yourself, gain those boons, and then you can get back into the fight with some boons and your mantra reset. Okay, now we're going to hop over to player versus player, and I'll show you how the build works there. Alright, we're here in PvP, and let's pull up the build. So this build is going to be almost the exact same as in player versus environment, but there are a couple things that changed. And actually, I need to switch up some of the things here because I was testing out another build. Okay, now we're ready. So for weapons, we're running the exact same of a greatsword and a sword torch, and the exact same sigils of battle and strength on the greatsword, and fire and battle on the torch. The runes, well, let's actually talk about the amulet first. The amulet is going to be a Zerker amulet, and the rune. The rune we're running is Holbrecht because in PvP right now, people love conditions, so we might as well lower the condition duration just so we don't have to be popping our healing skill all the time to cleanse it. The trait line is going to be the exact same as Dueling, Chaos, and Inspiration, and it's going to be up, middle, up. Chaos is going to be middle, up, middle, and Inspiration is going to be down, down, middle. The only difference here is in Dueling. Instead of Fencer's Finesse, we're taking Evasive Mirror, because that extra damage with the sword is nice, but the extra survivability is much better in player versus player. So Evasive Mirror allows us, when we dodge, we have a mirror placed on us, the boon, or condition effect, and then it will reflect projectiles. Okay, now talking about the tactics for PvP. As you can see on the screen for the little combat thing, this build is in player versus player is mainly for harassing, contesting points, and mopping up kills, and assisting people mop up kills. So, by mopping up kills, I mean you stealth, and then you can stomp someone, and they won't know this until they get stomped. You have the ability to give your allies stability, which means they can stomp enemies without having the fear of being feared, being stunned, being knocked back, and it just makes cleaning up the kills a lot easier. So, use stealth for stomping, escaping, and even engaging. Like what I'll do is in Stronghold, I'll sit on the trebuchet for a bit, and if someone's coming at me, I'll get off the trebuchet, stealth myself, they'll come up, and then I just unleash the phantasms on them and try and burst them down quickly. Use your stability, use the mantra of concentration to break stun and stabilize allies where you're stomping. I'm just reading notes so I don't forget anything, so that's why I'm repeating myself. Use blink to traverse objects. By that I mean, like, if you use blink, you can use it to get on top of the bell tower or church, whatever it is in Battle of Kylo. Very useful. I always go for center point and Kylo first because I can get there fast. And the really nice thing about this build is since it does a decent amount of damage, you can quickly see with the Spectral Surge on the Greatsword which of your enemies are the squishiest, which is what I always love to do. If just like you ping each one and it's like whichever one takes the most damage, I go after them. And that being said, those burst thieves that can really mess you up, this build is amazing. If you play this build right, you can counter those burst thieves very easily of getting out of their regime of bursting you down. And if you can get out of that, they're kind of left there helpless and you can easily kill them because they're so squishy. Anyone that is kind of tanky though, like a Bunker Guardian, that's where you have to be careful with this build. I've run into a couple Bunker Guardians that have just messed me up. So that's something to note. Now, this last part of the video is something that I like to do, of show you guys what my appearance is, what dyes I'm using, because it might help you guys come up with outfits, or you might be wondering, hey, how did he do that how did he get this look? So, this is me showing you. So, for the headpiece, I am running a feathered headpiece. Actually, I'll hop into the wardrobe to show this. Feathered headpiece. More equipment. Either way. For the shoulders, I am running a Guild Archmage mantle. For the chest piece is the winged tunic. For the gloves, I have apostle wrappings. For the pants, I have winged pants. And the shoes don't matter too much, but I have seer shoes. And so you kind of understand what I'm trying to go for here for the look is I want my character to look like a dervish, which explains the weapons, which I'll go over in just a moment. And the back piece, I have Maudry. Now, I actually used to be running, for the back piece, Savory Chef back piece, because I liked the basket to go with the outfit. I thought it looked very dervish, kind of. So, for the weapons, I'm running the Whisperer's Secret Greatsword, because it just looks dervishy. It's kind of curved, got that Alonian look to it. Also, it fits on your back, unlike other greatswords Zurans carry. For the sword, I'm running... Oh, I'm gonna have to read this one.
How interesting.
Yeah, more words I can't pronounce. Auroriete? Rinblade? I like it because it kind of looks like an old Ascalonian blade. And then I have Rodgort as my torch on the side, just because it kind of looks Ascalonian-like to go with the blade. And for the outfits, just because I want to show you these off, I run the monk outfit and the arcane outfit. So, moving on to the dyes I use. For my regular armor, I use Pride, which is the purple. Well, you can see it. Pride, Tangerine, and Cashmere. Or Casimir, however you want to pronounce it. For the outfits, I kind of switch in between them. Of the monk outfit is going to be Pride in the top left, Cashmere in the top right, Antique Gold in the bottom right, and for the monk, I'm running Midnight Rust in the bottom left. And in the case of my arcane outfit, I actually switch out the Midnight Rust for Tangerine. And it's the exact same color scheme as the monk of Pride in the top left, Casimir in the top right, Antique Gold in the bottom left, and then Tangerine in the bottom left. Antique Gold in the bottom right. So, do be on the lookout for other videos on builds I'm going to be putting out there. I've got a couple other builds I want to show off, including another Mesmer build. So if you enjoyed the video, hit like, comment, subscribe, hit me up on the Twitters and the comment section below, and have a day.